This is episode 34 of Adventures in Supply Chain Podcast. We are pleased to present the Data and Tech in Supply Chain video series with guest Rick Watson, e-commerce expert. This episode is sponsored by USM Supply Chain. USM stands for Unstoppable, Scalable, Mindful Supply Chain. Check us out at usmsupplychain.com to scale up your profits together with your supply chain. Our guest, Rick Watson, after spending the last 20 years as a technology entrepreneur and operator exclusively in the e-commerce industry with companies like Channel Advisor, BarnesandNoble.com, Merchantry, and Pitney Bowes, started his own business to help with incubating and growing direct-to-consumer businesses. Rick has been a featured speaker on nationwide news programs such as Bloomberg Surveillance and Bloomberg West, as well as a number of retail-focused industry events, including NRFshop.org, ECommerce Europe, ETail West, and others. In this episode, we talk about the following. What are the most common challenges that e-commerce companies face? Is it marketing or supply chain? Where are cost savings opportunities? What is the role of data and technology in e-commerce companies? If a company needs to choose a particular area where to invest on technology, what's that area and why? Thoughts about the battle between UPS and Amazon. What companies that are already in business and want to scale should do. What companies that want to start or developing more their e-commerce channels should do, in particular, those that are doing business to business. And now with you, your host, Marcia, and her amazing guest, Rick Watson.
Good morning, Rick. A pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here, Marcia. Thanks so much.
And we are so glad that you are going to help us to understand e-commerce. That is a very hot topic today in supply chain. So let's start with a brief introduction of yourself, if you could.
Yeah, no problem. So I've spent the past a little over 20 years in the e-commerce industry as an entrepreneur and an operator through different companies such as Channel Advisor, Barnes and Noble, Pitney Bowes, which is obviously in supply chain, and then Merchantry, across direct to consumer as well as marketplace based businesses and software companies. And then most recently in the past couple of years, I founded my own e-commerce consulting firm, to help investors and management teams scale, essentially their digital commerce operations.
Perfect. That's great. And so based on your experience, that is vast experience, what are the most common challenges that e-commerce companies are facing today?
Yeah, there are two big challenges that most companies face. One is related to marketing. How can you acquire customers profitably without overspending?
Yes.
To acquire them. And then second is, how do you control supply chain costs? Clearly rates by the major carriers keep growing every year, and the service levels that consumers expect their expectations keep raising. And so that could lead to, extremely large expenses on the P&L for a brand.
Wow, so it is both, right? Marketing and supply chain that is challenging. Yes, I see. And as a consumer, we want everything now without paying more. So we want it all. So.
That's right.
And Rick, where do you think we can find cost savings opportunities? Because with last mile delivery increasing very frequently, where do we need to see that we can find cost savings opportunities?
Yeah, I think retailers that have a store infrastructure, many are finding that they invest to fulfill from stores or invest in pickup at stores or delivery from store. That has been a big improvement in cost savings over traditional e-commerce fulfillment, just because the inventory is already present close to the customer. And so that's a big savings. Second is subscription e-commerce is another way to improve profitability because you don't have to reacquire the same customer over and over. Anything you can do to increase the amount of repeat business, to your website without having to, pay to look for them again is important.
Yes, and also I see that because with a subscription model, you know what is expected. So you know what you need to deliver, and in that way you control more like your stock. So I see that is a great point that you are bringing up.
Right.
Great.
No, that's awesome.
Perfect. And then what is the role about data and technology in e-commerce? Because we communicate, you were mentioning how to acquire customers. This is through the website. So it's different than when we work with manufacturers and they sell to other businesses. So what is the role of technology and how we can best use the data?
Yeah, obviously a complex question, but data and technology is really the lifeblood of any business.
Yes.
And there are a number of different parts, first-class parts of data that need to be tracked. Customers, products, orders, and shipments. Those are the four critical concepts that where things like predictive analytics, when consumers can buy again, what are your most profitable segments, where are you making money, where are the most costs, and where are your highest margin products, and just even understanding the profitability of various products is difficult for many brands.
Yes, and a challenge that I see is with the sales, as you were saying, because let's say that the e-commerce company is selling a certain number of items, and then it has a huge spike in sales, and they weren't prepared. So that is when it is challenging to forecast demand.
That's right. Yeah. Particularly in the last year, that has caused a lot of trouble for people with COVID, particularly for essential items or anything with long overseas supply chains.
Yes.
In the past few months has been a big problem.
Yes, because what it typically used to take, let's say, like 60 days or 90 days, considering the lead time, now is 1 more month or 2 more months due to the current situation. So
yeah, exactly.
Yes. So for a company, let's say that they have some resources to invest in technology, and you need to make a recommendation to them. Where should they invest? In which area? Like, let's say marketing maybe first, or operations? What are your thoughts about that?
Usually I tell companies to start with operations, because if you invest too quickly in marketing, then you don't know if you're able to service the customer properly. And it doesn't matter if you can acquire a whole bunch of new customers if they're all leaving because they had a bad experience, and then they're going to tell other people, and your business could be in trouble. So to me, operations, supply chain, customer service are always number one, because without those, you kind of have a leaky bucket. You pour water in the top, and then the water leaks out the bottom. But once you have a good service and supply chain, then you can start investing in merchandising and marketing, because you have a sustainable business.
Yes. I don't know from what you have seen, but sometimes what I have noticed is that companies start very strong with marketing, and then it happens what you describe. They just cannot meet all the orders on time, and there are disappointment from the customers and bad reviews that we see. Commerce is critical, the reviews that they get.
Right. No, definitely.
Great. And now I was thinking that we can talk about a very hot topic within e-commerce, and I have listened to other podcasts that you share your thoughts about the battle about UPS and Amazon. So can you help us to understand the situation and what's going on there?
Yeah, I think historically UPS has been UPS and USPS have been big suppliers for Amazon. For logistics. And I think over time, as Amazon has taken more and more volume in-house, their share that is serviced by UPS has decreased. And so you see Amazon investing billions and billions in new capital in expanding their logistics network, much more than UPS is investing now. Wow. So I think it's inevitable that that these two companies will become more and more. And right now Amazon is primarily servicing its own parcels, but I think the big question is when and if Amazon will start servicing other commercial companies, for their own volume.
Yes, when they are going to become like another player, because today we have the key carriers, right? Like FedEx, UPS, and USPC, that they have been making changes now recently. So yes, it's an important question when Amazon is going to get into the market, in that
right.
market.
No, for sure.
Yes, that's great. And then, Rick, I was going to ask you, let's say that the e-commerce companies are in different stages. There are some that they have been in business for some time. Mm-hmm. And so what is your recommendations for them, like to scale? How can they do that, or to increase the product offerings, or what are your suggestions?
Yeah, I think it depends on the categories. I think expanding assortment, I think, is always generally a good idea, because then you appeal to different customer needs. A lot of times, particularly a direct-to-consumer brand starts with one main product. Or like a small number of main SKUs. If it's a footwear company or an apparel company, you have the T-shirt that everyone loves, and that's why people really follow your brand. The general path for scaling is to add related SKUs that are within a category or lifestyle. So to move from a single product company to more of a lifestyle brand that people identify with and can use for more different use cases in their life. So I think that's one of the major ways, because ultimately you can increase marketing and find more consumers, but at the end of the day, once more and more people start buying your product, the way to expand is to expand your merchandise selection.
Great. And along those lines, if the company is new to e-commerce, because with the pandemic, many manufacturers started to developing more the e-channel commerce. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't have one and now they do, or maybe they had one but they were doing with a low activity, but now they want to increase that. So would your suggestion be focusing first on one product, and once they make sure that they are profitable to extend, or should they start with some SKUs?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot depends on what kind of categories there are. There are certain categories that have more penetration in e-commerce than others. And so that tends to be the lower hanging fruit for these brands. I find that most companies, manufacturers that have not invested much online, a lot of the reason is because of fear. They are afraid to disrupt their existing retail and e-commerce customers. And so as a result, they do nothing. And so the company keeps operating as it is, and they lose control of their own brand because their resellers are really presenting the only face they have to the market.
Yes, such a great point, because that is one of the key concerns. Are we going to compete against ourselves? Are we going to lose the retailers that we are already selling to? That is, yes. Right. And so how would you address that concern? What can they do to mitigate the risk?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things. Number one is, one big strategy is partnership, where they need to not only, they need to position it as a win-win. So this allows the manufacturer to gain a better understanding of the voice of the customer so that they can improve their products and develop new products. So that's good for everyone because it increases the size of the whole market, not only for the brand, but also for the resellers. I think second is they need to develop incentives so that consumers can get better and different services from their resellers. So not just the transaction, but the service after the sale. And so referring people to retailers around them that they can get faster service or develop a more personal relationship, and where to buy solutions and things like that. So, you know, in different markets, it's a little bit different. For instance, like if you're in the furniture market, you have not only a brand could sell direct to consumer, but they're selling through retailers and maybe they're selling through designers. Yes. And so you should have a commission structure so that a designer or a retailer that introduces the brand to a new customer should get commissions for that. And there should be incentive and loyalty structure for those to support your brand over other alternatives.
Great. No, excellent point. Excellent. Thank you. And Rick, any final thoughts that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think one of the big things, especially in the larger brands, one of the big challenges I find is starting these new digital initiatives is a lot of them start as technology projects, but they forget about the connections across the entire business to sales and marketing and finance and merchandising. And so you have one part of the company that's often trying to do something where the other groups aren't even participating. And this just leads to a lot of misalignment and sometimes just fighting between the departments as you're starting a major new initiative, which is it's very difficult to get on the same page. So that kind of alignment can only come from the CEO. And she needs to make sure that those leaders have the same goals and incentives before the whole initiative gets started.
Yes, so it's not only technology, because sometimes when we think of e-commerce, we say everything is technology, but as you were mentioning, it's not. There needs to be alignment in all the organization and not to work in silos. So
that's right.
Yes, perfect. And Rick, I'm sure that you can help many companies. So what is the best way to reach you?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is I have a website that people can reach out to me. It's rmwcommerce.com. Or they can find me on LinkedIn just by searching for Rick Watson. And they can reach out, send me a message, and happy to have a conversation.
Perfect. And thank you so much. This has been great. We learned many aspects about e-commerce and the challenges. challenges and opportunities, because it is a moment that e-commerce is developing more and more. So thank you so much for sharing your insights.
All right, thanks so much, Marcia.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.